Hello, today in this mini lecture we're going to go over addition and subtraction in different bases. So first let's talk about addition. The best way of understanding this is looking at an example in our system, base 10. We all know what to do, but it's important to know why we're doing it. So, for starters, if we were adding 468 and 57 in our system, well, when we add the 8 and the 7, we get 15. Well, that means we carry a 1. Why do we carry a 1? Because 15 is 10 and higher, 10 or higher. So I want to write down, we carry when the sum is 10 or higher. Why is that relevant? Because we're in base 10. So how much higher? 5 higher. And then we carry a 1 on to the next, because that's worth 10 in the next place. So we carry on, 1 plus 6 plus 5, you get 12. Again, that's 10 or higher. By how much? 2. So we carry a 1. 1 plus 4, we just get 5. We don't need to carry. So, looking on the right-hand side for base 4, when do we carry? We carry now when the sum is 4 or higher. But it's the same rules. 2 plus 3 is 5. Well, that's 4 or higher. So how much higher? By 1. And we carry a 1. So the 4 there corresponds with what we carried, and then we're left over with the 1. But in any case, let's carry on. 1 plus 3, we get 4. That's 4 or higher, so we carry. Well, how much higher? 0. Then we carry a 1. 1 plus 1, we get 2. Well, it's not 4 or higher, so I just write the 2 there. And then, just like in our system, you have 1 plus nothing, you just get 1. Chalk the 1 down. Okay, so moving on. For higher bases, it's basically the same thing. In higher bases, though, one suggestion is rewrite all the letters as their number equivalents first, because it's very confusing to keep all of that in your head. So I would rewrite it as the following. It's important to keep the divisions so there's no confusion over where one place value ends and the other begins. So, as a reminder, always write the statement below. You carry when the sum is, well now, when it's 12 or higher. So, In the first one, 4 plus 7, we get 11. That's not 12 or higher, so I can just write 11. But actually we can do better than that, because we know instead of writing 11, I want to write B. So just represent a single digit. So when we don't have the divisions for the place values, we know what we mean. Okay, so then 10 plus 0, again, I know we want to write 10, but there's no reason to. Instead of writing 10, I want to write A. Again, so that we have a single digit. And then 5 plus 3, again, it's not 12 or higher, so we don't carry. We just get 8. So we get, as our final answer, 8AB base 12. So in these problems, in our system, we don't always carry when doing addition. So the same holds true for these problems. If we don't have a sum that's the base or higher, then there's no need to carry. Okay, so for the last example here, we have 3EC plus 293 base 16. Again, I want to rewrite this. And just note on the bottom, and these you will have to know, realistically, the only thing you really need to remember is that A is 10. After that, keep writing letters until you get to one less than whatever your base is. So base 16 really goes from 0 up until 15, the same way base 10 goes from 0 up till 9. Alright, so let's add this. 12 plus 3 get 15. Well, we have a letter for 15. It's F. It's not 16 or higher, so we don't need to carry. Okay. However, 14 plus 9, we get 23. That is 16 or higher. So how much higher? Nine. So 9 goes there, we carry a 1. And we add this 1 plus 3 plus 2. We get 6. And that's it. Our answer then is 6, 9, F, base 16. Okay, so moving on, let's talk about subtraction in different bases. Again, it makes sense to just start talking about base 10 and really pay attention to what it is we're doing to understand why we're doing it. So certainly we know about borrowing. And so what would we do here? Well, we can't take 2 minus 7, so we would need to borrow from the next place. But actually, we don't have enough to borrow from here either. So we have to borrow from the 3. We borrow 1 from that, and we don't want to look at it as we're just adding a 1 onto whatever number. I know that's the result, but what we're really doing is we're adding 10. So we add 10 to the next place. When borrowing. Or in other words, you borrow your base. Okay, so we need to borrow again to be able to take 2 minus 7. I can't do that. So I borrow 1 from that, add the 10, we get 12. And at this point, now we do subtraction, no problem. 2 minus 0 is 2, 9 minus 6 is 3, 12 minus 7 is 5, and that's it, we have our answer. So, same thing with base 5. Remember, when we borrow from one place, we're now going to add 5. So, I can do 3 minus 1. So let's do 3 minus 1, I get 2. I cannot do 0 minus 3, so I need to borrow. But just looking ahead, I know I also can't do 2 minus 3, so I'll need to borrow all the way from the 4. You might as well start to the very left when you don't have to actually borrow anymore. So I borrow 1 from here, and I want to add 5. If I add 5 to 2, I temporarily get 7. I need to borrow again to the next place. Borrow 1, you get 6. Add 5, we get 5. But then after this point, we just do the subtraction. 3 minus 0 is 3. 6 minus 3 is 3. 5 minus 3 is 2. And then we have our answer. 3322 base 5. Lastly, let's look at an example for base 16, like a higher base. Well, it's the same idea as addition. The first thing I want to do is rewrite the problem with the letters replaced and divisions between the place values. So 4 minus 3, 2 minus, well, F is 15. A is 10. And C is 12. And this is all base 16. Okay, so let's look at what we can do and what we can't do. I cannot take 10 minus 12. I cannot take 2 minus 15. So I have to borrow all the way from the left. I need to borrow a 1 here, and remember, we're going to add 16 to the next place when borrowing. So, 2 plus 16, we get 18. Borrow again, we're left with 17. 10 plus 16, we get 26. And so now we do the subtraction. 3 minus 3, you get 0. 17 minus 15, you get 2. And 26 minus 12, we get 14, but we have a letter for 14. It's E, so I'm going to write E. And the same way in our system, leading zeros are meaningless. Like if I wrote down the number 005, you would just write 5. Well, same thing here, I just want to write 2e base 16. That's our answer.